know definitively that this child doesn't exist, but right now the onus is on the people making the claim to prove it. Well, it looks like they've proved it. What are Tucker Carlson and the rest of folks going to say? Let's talk about it, y'all. Middle America.
And you ain't black.
The first time ever any...
What are you people? We're Americans.
We are Americans indeed. My name is Vincent. This is Middle America with Vin and Sori. Where we're not left wing, we're not right wing, we're just right. Okay, a little levity, but honestly, we've been dealing with a pretty crazy story. It was reported earlier this week, I believe, that a 10-year-old girl was assaulted by somebody, and that because of where she lived, I think in Ohio, she was not able to get an abortion, so she had to go to Indiana to get the abortion. And as we reported, and as I believe The Hill reported, the data from this person only came from one source. And the Attorney General, I believe his name is Mr. Yost, appeared on Fox News a couple days ago and says he has no idea who this person is and all that. At the time, when everything got rerouted back, it traced to one source who was obviously a compromised source. So at the time, we were in a situation where we had one source for this incredibly crazy situation. However, we do have an update. An update popped yesterday. Shout out to the first person that I heard it from was the big homie Sadie. Definitely people on Middle America had been posting as well, but Sadie was the first person I talked to, so I got to give her credit for that. And so now we've got an update on this particular situation. So here we go. Here is the update. I specifically did not use CNN as a source for this video because people were texting me and saying, don't you think it's convenient? Let me read this. Don't you think it's convenient all of a sudden now that they have found this guy, blah, 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 blah. Well, whether it's convenient or not, I don't care. All I care about is the information and the data and the evidence. Now, of course, if you don't want to believe this happened or you don't want to whatever, I guess you can disbelieve anything relative to the media. I understand that. But at minimum, what I'm about to show you is not a CNN clip. This is ABC News, and I understand that there's people that are not going to believe it no matter what. From my vantage point, I'm going to apply the same rationale that I apply with everything. Namely, I understand that the media doesn't always tell the truth. I understand that. However, I do believe that the media has a vested interest, particularly in stories like this, to basically cover their own behinds, essentially, and report the thing factually. Because if they don't, if this came out and this guy had nothing to do with it, and he says I was in, Yugoslavia or whatever, it's going to be bad for them. So I am going to assume that what we're seeing in the news is credible relative to this issue in the very same way, that we assumed that the Washington Post article, which was criticizing this story, was credible. You've got to be consistent. So you can't quote the Washington Post and other mainstream outlets on the topic and then say that they're lying on the same topic. I understand there are people that do that. It's just my vantage point. My mind doesn't work that way. They're saying they found the guy. They're saying whatever. Definitely he gets his day in court, so you can't definitively pronounce him guilty. But what this does prove, at least definitively, again, if you don't believe the media, I understand, but I'm just talking about myself and how my mind works. It doesn't prove that this guy is innocent or guilty because this is still America and you have to do a trial. However, it does prove that there was a 10-year-old victim, and I understand that we should have confidentiality, but in this particular situation, don't you think we should have that for verification? No. No, we don't need the 10-year-old's name or identity for verification. Absolutely not. We're not going to sacrifice this child. He's already been traumatized. by saying that we need to know her information to verify the veracity of the story? No, I don't think we need to do that. I think we need to keep that girl as anonymous as she could possibly be. So I understand there's people that are not going to believe what I'm about to post, but from my vantage point, it's important to be consistent, and it's important to be as truthful as you possibly can. Obviously, all of us regular citizens are at we're at a disadvantage, but we've got to be consistent. That's the only way we can even hope to have a chance of knowing the truth in America. Okay, so enough of that. Let us look at the story. Again, this is not CNN. This is, I think, the NBC Nightly News. So please don't dismiss this as some leftist conspiracy theory. Let's go.
That major development in a disturbing case has become a national flashpoint in America's battle over abortion rights after Roe was overturned. The 10-year-old Ohio girl who had been raped, who went to Indiana to get an abortion because there are no exceptions for rape in Ohio. Some had claimed the family's story was not true. Tonight, a suspect has now been charged in the case, and what Ohio authorities are now saying. Here's Alex Perez.
Tonight, an Ohio man is under arrest, charged in the rape of a 10-year-old girl whose case made national headlines. Authorities saying that girl went to another state, Indiana, to get an abortion. Ohio instituting a ban on nearly all abortions after 6 weeks, with no exceptions for rape following the overturning of Roe v. Wade.
The charge is rape, felony of the first degree, under 13 years old.
The 27.
Okay, there it is. The charge is rape, felony first degree, under 13 years old. That's her. Somebody says, well, how do you know it's the same girl? We don't know definitively it's the same girl because the girl has been anonymous. But do you honestly think that there are bunches of situations where a girl in Ohio gets raped and gets pregnant? You think that happens every 5 seconds? As I said in the previous video, it doesn't. Okay? Girls getting pregnant at 10 years old from sexual assault is extremely rare, as we talked about in the Guttmacher Institute. So I don't want to hear anybody saying, well, we don't know it's the same girl. We can logically and rationally assume it's the same girl. Can we please use our minds? Obviously, no, I can't say it completely definitively, but I believe very clearly a rational person should believe that these two are connected. That's what I believe. We continue.
Year-old suspect, who authorities say is undocumented, arraigned in a Columbus courtroom today. Prosecutors saying he admitted to having sexual contact with the girl. The Ohio Attorney General issuing a statement saying, "My heart aches for the pain suffered by this young child. Justice must be served, and the Bureau of Criminal Investigation stands ready to support law enforcement across Ohio putting these criminals behind bars."
Okay, I have a real problem with this guy. Now, in the previous discussion, because the situation was unconfirmed, my main problem was with the media. I know a lot of people are going after Joe Biden for exploiting this child, whatever. But my main problem was the media. But now that this information has come out, I have a serious issue with this dude. Because he told us a couple days ago, I don't know this person doesn't exist, yada, 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 yada. Well, this guy confessed to doing this to this girl, which tells me that there was an ongoing investigation happening, and that it appears to me that they had a person of interest, okay? That's what it looks like to me. So how Mr. Yost was able to get on TV and say that stuff, I'm not saying he was lying, but what I'm saying is if he's not lying, it's even worse, because that means as the AG, as the top prosecutor of the state, you were not conversant with an insanely horrible case, and you were so clueless about it that you went on TV and said you had no idea about it. And you're the Attorney General. By the way, Attorney General is a pretty important position to be in. Trust me, I know. I don't. This guy, to me, obviously, the person who assaulted this child needs to be brought to justice. But this guy right here, I think there should be an investigation into what this guy's role in this was, because essentially, if this dude didn't turn himself in, I mean, think about this. Apparently he confessed. If this guy didn't turn himself in, then all we would have is there's one source, right? And then on top of that, we'd say, well, the AG has no idea who this person is. This entire thing would have been swept under the rug. So I do think that, yeah, the media definitely, but this guy, I do believe that he should be investigated or something happened with this guy. Either he's massively incompetent or he's a Salam Ya Israfel. Either he's massively incompetent or he was running interference for a child rapist because he's a Republican and he didn't want the left to get an emotional win. Either way, to me, this guy is extremely, as the kids say, sus right now. I'm looking at him with the side eye, and to me, there's no way that this guy ends up looking good. Either you were completely incompetent about this, or you were willing to throw this girl under the bus, literally, speak her out of existence, and then you were basically running interference for somebody who assaulted a child. I'm gonna watch and see what happens with this guy. And everybody, vindication@gmail.com. His name is AG Yost. If he, what's up, Amy? If this guy, I do believe there should be some accountability for this guy. Is it going to happen? I don't know. But if you guys hear anything about AG Yost or whatever, please let me know, because I do want to follow up on this story on this angle. Okay? I'm going to follow up on this angle. And you can say that I'm biased, but I'm not going to countenance any conspiracy theories about this girl, and I'm not going to weigh in on my little channel to get people to verify who this girl is so we can verify this story. No, I'm not. That's ridiculous. But I do want information on this guy. We continue.
Last month, the girl's mother reporting to Child Services that her daughter was pregnant.
The victim went out of state to have a medically terminated abortion.
The story making headlines world.
So it was reported to Child Services. Again, you're the AG. You went on Fox News and said there was no trace of her. Remember I said that? I said, well, there should be something from Child Protective Services, blah, 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 blah. He went on Fox News and told us that never happened. Okay? Alden said it. He's either lying or incompetent. Chris says MAGA voters won't care. He has an R. Yost has an R by his name. Well, I understand that, but I don't think that I'm not saying that Yost should, worry about his reelection or whatever. What I'm saying is there should be an independent counsel that goes to investigate this. I don't believe this should be in the hands of voters or our public opinion, but there needs to be an investigation of this guy. What did you know? When did you know it? And if you didn't know it, how the hell could you get on Fox News and tell the world essentially that this girl didn't exist when there was a child services report made for her? So I understand that the Trump, the MAGA voters, presumably, I mean, these guys have daughters, so, but what I'm saying about Yost is that it shouldn't be even up to the voters to think about this Yost character. That's my issue. We continue.
Worldwide after the young girl traveled from Ohio to Indianapolis, Indiana for an abortion. Abortion rights advocates outraged, saying this is the new reality. Among those horrified by the case, President Biden, who just days ago signed an executive order to protect access to abortion, and pointing to the case of this young girl.
10 years old. 10 years old. Raped, 6 weeks pregnant. Already traumatized, was forced to travel to another state. Imagine being that little girl. I'm serious. Just imagine being that little girl.
And David.
So, at this point, Mr. Biden took a pretty big risk because apparently nobody in his crew had verified it. So you have to, I was saying people were really going after Biden. I'm not I was saying through the previous video, I hate being a guy that's defending Biden. But as I said in the previous video, all of us should have been able to assume that a situation like this that went this viral was legitimate. So Mr. Yost, I think even at the federal level, maybe Biden has a vested interest in going after this guy. And I think if Biden went after Yost, I think the public would be in support of it, to be honest with you. So anyway, shout out to Biden. He got vindicated finally.
This case, just one example of how polarizing this case can be across the country. David, there were many people who did not believe this young girl's story, but of course, prosecutors today confirming her account with today's arrest. That suspect is being held on $2 million bail. He has not. As Rivers said, this guy, I believe, confessed. So, I mean, just think about that. If this guy wouldn't have confessed, holy smokes. Entered a plea. If convicted, he could face life in prison. David?
Alex Perez tonight. Alex, thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live. Thank you, George Stephanopoulos. Okay, so Jim Jordan did the same thing. He refused to be questioned about it today. Wait, Alden, did Jim Jordan try to question Yost and Yost wouldn't answer questions? Is that what happened? Because if you have that video, I'd like to see it. Okay. So there we go. Now, I'll tell you guys, as I said in the opening clip and a piece of the video, I was agnostic, leaning toward this didn't happen. This is, Planned Parenthood propaganda, yada, 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 yada. Okay? But when you see the information come out and it goes against your primary thesis, you have to talk about it. And you cannot do the update on Facebook or Twitter. Like if you made the statement on a video channel, then you should do the retraction on a video channel, etc. I'm not a fan of, here's an update, this little detail, blah blah. No, okay. I didn't believe this story, as I said I was agnostic, blah blah blah, but I didn't believe it. Well, now we got new information. When you get new information, you've got to change your mind. Otherwise, you don't care about reality. You're just worrying about, whatever. Okay? So, okay. Now, here is Tucker Carlson. Somebody sent this to me. Here is Tucker Carlson, and this is the angle that's being taken now by, Fox News.
To Joe Biden, other human beings only exist to the extent they can be used for partisan ends, so it shouldn't surprise you that on Friday he used the story of a 10-year-old rape victim to push for more abortion. According to Joe Biden, the law...
I mean, I agree with that. Obviously, the folks in the media were using this as a logical leap to say, therefore, we should continue the practice of abortion that has killed 61 million children. I've had this discussion over and over again with folks, and I said, okay, here's what I'll do. I'll make an exception for sexual assault, underage sexual assault survivors. I'll make an exception, and we'll make all the other 99% of abortions illegal. They don't like that either. Okay, so as I said in the previous video, centering a case like this that is an obvious edge case. It's such an edge case that not even the Guttmacher Institute, which is the reporting arm for Planned Parenthood, they don't even have real stats for that. And as I posted as well, where the Lancet, the WHO, PubMed, all these outlets that study maternal issues have to use a conglomeration of other countries to come up with their reports because it happens so rarely in the USA. So the point is taken that they were trying to use this girl for their own ends. I understand that, but that happens in the exact same way on the right-wing side, which I'm assuming is going to happen here, which is why somebody sent me the
Ohio forced
video.
a 10-year-old rape victim to flee to Indiana to get that abortion. Now, the White House never vetted the facts of that story. It's the President of the United States saying things that no one checked, but the facts did.
Again, as I said, he's the president. You've got, you still have a conflict in Europe with the Russians and Ukrainians. You still have the economy. You have the looming bloodbath that's going to happen in the midterms, and then the return of Mr. Trump. I'm not giving Biden any excuses. I'm simply saying I don't think it's crazy to assume that he had a lot of things going on. And, you know, again, I mean, it sounds crazy, but I don't think that Mr. Biden did anything wrong in this situation. Was he failed by his the folks who were supposed to vet all the information so he doesn't look crazy? Sure. But you can't say that he's crazy or wrong for saying that or doing what he did with it. Especially, I don't know how Mr. Biden truly feels about abortion, but a lot of people believe it's a human rights crisis on the other side. And some of those folks are genuine. I don't know how genuine Mr. Biden is, but again, acting like Biden should have done his own independent fact-checking investigation, to me, I just think is, especially considering the previous president we had. I mean, Mr. Trump didn't make comments based on a thorough fact-checking system. And I didn't see Tucker go after Biden for that. Maybe he has. I'm not sure. But anyway, we continue.
Didn't make any sense. On Monday, for example, the Attorney General of Ohio said there would not be a reason for this child to flee to Ohio in the first place. Watch.
Ohio's heartbeat law has a medical emergency exception, broader than just the life of the mother. This young girl, if she exists and if this horrible thing actually happened to her, breaks my heart to think about it.
Oh, yeah.
She did not have to leave Ohio to find treatment.
Yeah, but how in the world am I supposed to believe you? How can I believe you? You told me that this girl didn't exist. Even in this quote, he said, if she exists. So how can we believe what you're saying? Because you've demonstrated that you're either, and no disrespect to you in your office, but you've demonstrated that you're either a pathological liar or you are massively incompetent, and you were so heartbroken over the situation that you couldn't be bothered. Before you went on Fox News, you couldn't be bothered to check child services. There was already a report that was filed. Check with your local detectives. Check with the local police chief. Check with Indiana. Check with the abortion clinics in Indiana. You could have done all of that before you went on Fox News, but you went on Fox News and said that nonsense for the same reason that Joe Biden said that stuff without vetting it. You didn't vet your information either. And Tucker, now there's a 5-minute video here. So maybe Tucker will say, okay, well, it's true that Joe Biden didn't do his due diligence when he got in front of the media, but neither did Mr. Yost. So if Tucker says that, then I'll say, okay, you're being consistent. I'll say that you're being consistent, Tucker, if you admit that Mr. Yost either didn't do his due diligence or purposefully lied. And to be honest with you guys, I hold Mr. Yost to a higher standard than I will hold Mr. Biden. Why? Because Mr. Yost is a specialist. In other words, you're an AG. You're the boots on the ground in that state and the neighboring state. But Mr. Biden has to deal literally with all the problems of the world. So I'm going to give Mr. Biden a lot more leeway on making that mistake than I will Mr. Yost. But it's mind-boggling to me that Tucker is quoting Mr. Yost in light of what we have just seen. As if there aren't significant problems with this guy. But okay, we continue. Unbelievable. We continue, guys.
So the obvious headline here was not about abortion. It was about the crime committed against a child. Who raped a 10-year-old? That was our first question. Nobody seemed interested at all in learning who this person was. And maybe there was a reason for that. In fact, there was another moral to the story. Apparently,
well, your source told us that this person didn't exist, so how could we know who she is? Right? He said, this child, if she exists, I know he's very, very hard. He was so, Mr. Yost was so heartbroken for Shorty that he couldn't bother himself to check in with child services or anybody. But anyway, we continue.
The rapist was an illegal alien.
Here we go!
The Columbus Dispatch is reporting...
Here we go! Oh my God! The rapist was an illegal... Oh, here we go. So the issue is not we have a culture that completely degrades the life of children. I hope you understand in this country that children are becoming more and more endangered. A bunch of them can't even make it through the birth canal alive, but then when you make it through the birth canal and then you're going to school, our police will stand there while you die, and then we can sexually assault you, and then one group of us is going to use your trauma to put forth their agenda, which has nothing to do with you, and they know it. The folks at Planned Parenthood know that this is a once in a while edge case, and that the vast majority of abortions have nothing to do with this kind of situation. But they're going to use this child to push that. Meanwhile, the Republicans are going to use this child's trauma to demonize this guy. That's not the story right now, Tucker. When the trial happens, we can make this guy the story. That's not the story to me. The story to me is the Attorney General. That's the story. Because that guy almost aided and abetted in not only in essentially getting this guy scot-free. I mean, if this guy would have been watching the news instead of being in hiding or whatever, he probably would have got away with it, and a lot of him potentially getting away with it would be because of this Yost guy. I want everybody to stop and think about that. If this guy right here, who we're looking at, who is a suspected assaulter, okay, and again he turned himself in, so believe it or not believe it if you don't want. I'm gonna believe that he's the guy, okay? So let's go with that. If he is the assaulter, do you realize that Mr. if this guy was smart, he would have been like, yo, there's only one source, yada, yada, yada. I'm gonna sit back and just play this shit out. You almost got this guy off scot-free because, as Candy's saying, you guys, everybody's trying to politicize this issue. I don't believe for a second that either side cares about this girl. And I'm talking about the sides in the media. I'm not talking about the people in our community. But we can't let this, we can't let them, now we're going to shift the focus to illegal immigration. Now we're going to jump on xenophobia to get us away from the fact that we had an attorney general who's supposed to be the main prosecutor in your state covering essentially for a child rapist. That's the story, Tucker. This guy, we could talk about this guy. We could talk about this guy when the trial happens and when he's convicted, yada, 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 yada. Fine. I'm good with that. Execute the dude, whatever. But now is not the time to be talking about the fact that his immigration status. Now is the time to talk about why the hell did we have an attorney general come on one of the largest late night news outlet and spin this yarn about this child not even existing. That to me is a bigger story than his immigration status. We continue.
That a 27-year-old called Gershon Fuentes has confessed to raping the 10-year-old child on multiple occasions. Victor Davis Hanson is a senior fellow with the Hoover Institution, and we're happy to have him join us tonight. Professor, thanks so much for coming on. So what do you take from this story?
Well, it's a tragic story, Tucker, but it gets more mysterious every day because apparently this terrible, horrendous act was reported on the 22nd or nearabouts in June. And here we are on July 13th, 14th, and we're only now learning about who did this. In other words, this perpetrator apparently was not charged or arraigned, and yet people knew that he had coerced a young, maybe at the time, a 9-year-old to be pregnant. And so the question is, why now? at this belated date are we learning who he was? And maybe, I mean, a naive might say, well, it was because people had questioned the veracity of the story and people...
See, here's a conspiracy theory. Why are we hearing about it now? Here it is. Again, you're always going to be able to deny a story like this because they have to keep the girl anonymous. And I swear to God, if some leak comes out and they identify this girl, this is going to be horrible. I hope to God that nobody on the left or the right or whatever says, oh, we need to out this person to verify the story. No. I find it, mysterious, whatever. There's a lot of incompetence in the legal world, okay? So I personally am not going to countenance any conspiracy theory or any even hint of a conspiracy theory about this topic. I'm not doing it. And what these guys are trying to do to me is we're operating in a mass deflection exercise here. Because both sides have demonstrated they don't give a damn about this girl. The people that were putting this story out when there was only one source for information, hadn't verified it, obviously didn't care about this child. And now what's happening right now is that these guys are trying to seize on this to make a different political point. So the left is trying to make, really, it's the abortion capitalists are trying to use this girl to save their business. Meanwhile, this guy now wants to use this girl and her trauma to further this xenophobic agenda that these people have, and so that the regular Fox News viewer will be distracted from the fact that the fucking attorney general was running interference for a child assaulter. That's the story right now. I keep repeating myself, but let's continue.
For whatever nebulous reasons, didn't want to reveal his identity until revealing his identity was the only mechanism for substantiating the story in the first place. But in that time, it seems like a person who had a proclivity to have, coercive sex with minors was still out there. And we don't know what he was doing. He should have been, as soon as they reported the act, he should have been arraigned immediately. And then the next thing was the attorney
he should have been arraigned immediately.
He should have
been arraigned immediately. Well, there's a couple things. There's a couple things to that. We don't know the details of the story, so we don't know. We haven't heard. At least I haven't heard from the police chief, from the detectives. We haven't heard from the judge. So we don't know what was going on. This was a massively sensitive case because you're dealing with a minor. So I can see, and again, this is speculation, I can see them not blasting all this in public, not blasting we have a person of interest. I can see them doing that for a bunch of reasons. All this little soliloquy here is designed to get you to start questioning, even though you have the guy right there on the picture, he's right there. They want you to question the veracity of this arrest and the assault itself. And I'm not doing that. Unbelievable.
Weeks, but the abortionist who became the spokesman for the story said, well, the abortion was committed, done 6 weeks and 3 days. I mean, why was it so close to that date? It was almost as if you knew about this act, you had a method inside Ohio.
Oh, I gotta rewind that because I don't know what he's saying here. And I'm already biased against this guy. I don't like this guy, but I gotta hear what he has to say. So give me a second. Let me rewind that and hear that again.
And then the next thing was the Attorney General mentioned the heartbeat law at 6 weeks. But the abortionist who became the spokesman for the story said, well, the abortion was committed, done 6 weeks and 3 days. I mean, why was it so close to that date? It was almost as if you knew about this act, you had a method inside Ohio. If you believe that was a proper course, it would have been legal within 6 weeks rather than to go over to Indiana and then be told, well, it was 6 weeks and 3 days. It doesn't, all of these details, they reek of a political weaponization of the case, which is tragic because we have a 9-year-old, I guess at the time of the act, she was 9, and she's being used for political purposes, which is terrible. And then we have this perpetrator, and now we learn that he is here illegally from Guatemala.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh, geez, 6 weeks and 3 days. And, you know, sometimes when my kids, they get in trouble, you know, they start getting really like detail oriented. They're like 5 dishes and all this. And so like we get into the minutia of the detail, so that we start focusing on the detail instead of the bigger picture. What the hell does the fact that it was 6 weeks and 3 days, how is that relevant to any of this situation? And I've got how many minutes left on this segment with Tucker? Let's see. I've got 1 minute and 49 seconds. Is Tucker or this guy, who wants to make a bet? Victor Davis Hanson from the Hoover Institution and Tucker Carlson are not going to say what the hell was going on with the AG. There's 1 minute and 49 seconds left. Let's see. Let's see, guys.
Guatemala, and he's residing illegally, and no one has. The act was reported, and for almost 3 weeks, he hasn't been charged. So we're going to have to wait for more details, but it's mysterious. It's terrible what's going on.
So it sounds like
it's not mysterious. What is mysterious? There was a report the child was assaulted, and as a result of that assault, she became pregnant, and then as a result of that issue, she traveled to neighboring Indiana, and they killed the child. There's no mystery there. Hell, you went with the 6 weeks and 3 days. That's very, very specific. That's not mysterious at all. Tell me what the mysterious elements of this case are, other than the Attorney General. Where's the mystery in this case? Now, it's a genuine question. Where's the mystery? I don't see any mystery here. I see you getting on the most popular late night or primetime news outlet. I see you doing that and using your authority to cast aspersions or doubt in the minds of Tucker's audience for people who are disposed to not want to believe it happened anyway, because they don't want to give any wins to the pro-abortion movement. That's what it looks like to me. I don't see a lot of mystery in this entire situation. It seems pretty clear to me what everybody's agenda is in this situation. Mysterious.
In this case, as in pretty much every case we've reported on for the past 5 years, the first version was a lie. Everything is partisan propaganda, and kind of believe nothing at first. Maybe that's the takeaway.
It reminds me a lot of the whipping story that Joe Biden also promulgated about Border Patrols whipping people, and we found out only later that it wasn't true at all. And then
right, but we found out in this situation that it was true. So the analogy makes absolutely zero sense. It makes no sense. And look, with the border thing, fine. I'm good with blaming that on Biden because it's gotten federal attention and it's something that he should have been conversant with. I blame him for the kids in cages, all that. Biden's a horrible person. I never like whatever. Okay? But that is not this. This situation happened. It happened. So why are you analogizing this to a situation that didn't happen? And do you really honestly believe that Tucker's audience is that vacuous that they would not see the difference between a credible, almost certainly true report of what happened to this child over and against something that was proven to be false? You don't think your audience can tell the difference between the two? I don't understand these people.
With desperate efforts to bring in more evidence to sort of incriminate them to save the reputation of the president. So I think what's happened is that this fellow was finally charged when they needed some substantiation of this story, but they seemed reluctant to charge him quicker and more almost immediately because they felt the story would be believable and be useful on its own merits. And then when people questioned it and wanted details, only then did they start releasing the details, which caused only more mystery. But
unbelievable. Now, I don't know, guys. I don't know. Why would the police chief, the prosecutor, the judge, all the rest of it, not blast all the details that they have about this particular situation? I mean, what I heard was that the arrest happened yesterday, as it was reported on Middle America. So the arrest happened yesterday. So this entire segment is there to cast. Here's what's fascinating to me about this whole discussion. On the one hand, they're saying, "Oh my God, it's an illegal alien that did that," right? But then on the other hand, they're saying, "I mean, this is all mysterious, and now all of a sudden this guy's well, then which is it? Is it this guy is a fall guy and a stooge so that they could validate the charge because people were doubting the charge? Or was it this scumbag immigrant went and raped this child?" You cannot have it both ways. You can't have it both ways. You can't say, "Well, I don't really know. I mean, this is really mysterious. I don't know." And simultaneously, you have right there on the screen, the child was assaulted by an illegal immigrant. How? One of them is true. One of them is true. Either the illegal immigrant did do the assault, or this situation is mysterious and we can't believe anything that these people say. Which in that case, fine, now we can't believe that the illegal immigrant did it. You have to choose. They both can't be right at the same time. Right? That's just logic, right? Am I crazy? I don't think I'm crazy. Well, I'm crazy, but not in this situation. I think all of us can see the obvious contradiction in this discussion piece.
The whole thing is I think it's terrible because it shows you that people are using a 10-year-old and protecting, in some cases, an illegal alien, if that happened to be true, that they deliberately delayed arraigning him until they needed evidence to substantiate this useful story.
Yeah, prosecutors do that all the time. When they have that's what they say, this is a person of interest. We've got a person of interest, and a lot of times they're not going to put out all the details of what they know and all that because they don't want the person to flee or lawyer up and all the rest of it. This is standard practice, especially with high-profile situations that literally travel all over the world overnight. I think that the law enforcement crew over there did exactly the right thing. In my view, their first priority was probably to ensure the anonymity and the protection of this girl, while simultaneously having a person of interest and then saying, we got to find evidence and things like that. Let's keep it under wraps until we can figure this shit out. It makes complete sense to me why they were doing that. That's called police work. It's called police work. That's what it sounds like to me.
It's terrible.
Oh,
they don't
it's
care
terrible.
About people, they care about power. Victor Davis Hanson, appreciate your coming on tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Look at
Subscribe to the Fox News YouTube channel.
All right. So we listened to the entire Tucker segment, and not one time, not once did they call out the AG. They went after the officers on the ground, presumably the prosecutors, etc. They went after those people and said, "Why are you bringing this out now? All of a sudden?" That's what they did. Okay, and then so they went after that. Tucker said all these people care about is power. They went after that, but they didn't go after the attorney general, who said that the girl didn't exist. At minimum, he was either massively incompetent or just a plain fucking liar. Excuse my French. But either way, he should have been held accountable, and Tucker didn't hold him accountable for obvious reasons. These people don't want this story to be true in any way, shape, or form. And if it is true, they could fall back on the fact that the guy was an illegal immigrant. This is not right. This is not right. I am pro-life. I don't believe. Look, if you want to, when people say make exceptions for assault, listen. This is what I need you guys to do. Put on the ballot. Do you support a constitutional amendment to make children pay for the crimes of their parents? and you put that on a constitutional, you put that as a constitutional amendment and have the people vote on it and see how that turns out. So I'm holding to my convictions because I believe it's the right thing, and I believe, as Dr. King says, that the arc of history tends towards justice. But I don't need to invalidate a horrifically terrible. If your position is so weak that you have to invalidate stories like this, cast all these mysterious aspersions on them and all the rest of it, then you're on the wrong team. You're on the wrong team. If your position is so weak that it can't handle situations like this, then you're on the wrong side. And definitely, if your position turns you into a liar and even worse, a aider and abetter of letting a person who assaults a child escape, then you're really on the wrong team. And I just want to make it absolutely clear, Mr. Yost, if this guy would have been a little bit more savvy and watched a little bit of Fox News, Mr. Yost put this dude in a situation where it was very possible that he could have got away with murder. People say, well, no, he committed an act of sexual assault. No, that's an act of murder. It's an act of murder. That's what I believe. So, you had a guy who's essentially almost an accessory to murder. That's the story, Tucker. Not the decisions that people made to publicize this issue and all the rest of it. I fully support what the law enforcement group did over there, because it looks to me like their number one priority was to make sure that this girl was kept anonymous so that we wouldn't continue to re-traumatize her. And make no mistake about it, I've been in the back rooms with some of you folks. If you think that these people would not have gone after this girl and tried to ruin her, you're wrong. You're wrong. Do I support law enforcement? No, I don't. I'm not a fan of law enforcement. I'm a black man in America. However, the way that they handled this particular situation and this particular girl was the right thing. You make sure, number one, she remains anonymous, and you make sure, number two, that the person that you have as a person of interest doesn't get tipped off in any way, shape, or form while you're collecting evidence to make sure that the person who did this to this child gets brought to justice. So in this particular situation, I believe fully that law enforcement did the right thing. I hope you guys understand, it's none of our fucking business. This entire situation is none of our fucking business. It became our business because the Planned Parenthood lady blasted it to everybody. But there is no obligation in any way, shape, or form for law enforcement to give us updates about what they're doing. They're not obligated to do that. You know who they're obligated to tell? The fucking Attorney General. And if that guy would have asked those questions before he got on Fox News, then he either would not have gone on Fox News, or maybe he would have and just went up there and lied anyway. Who knows? Who knows? By the way, Candy, I did get your email. People are deleting their tweets. Ridiculous. As far as Jim Jordan earlier, he repeated what Yost said pretty much word for word. He lied outright because it would help him and Yost. Okay. All right. Well, all right, guys. I had another story to run, but I'm not in a place where I can talk about it in a constructive manner. But if you're a praying person, pray for this girl. You know, all these Republicans, they get up there and they're like, oh, you know, it breaks my, well, Yost was, oh, it breaks my heart. Oh, it breaks my heart, Yost goes. And then the other guy, oh, this is a tragic situation. I can't stand that shit. Because both of you motherfuckers went up there and one of you lied or didn't even care enough about this girl to do a cursory investigation before you got on TV. And then you, whoever this guy is, comes on Fox News so that he can be an official elder statesman who can cast aspersions on this and then say, well, I mean, I don't know, this is really mysterious. And then simultaneous to that, let's go and blame the illegal immigrant. So, I mean, it's just, listen, man, this is just ugly, man. This is ugly. And the thing that gets me about our country right now, we can assault them, we can shoot them, and then the fucking grown adults will sit there outside of the door and like watch you and listen to you get killed if you're a kid. Kids are in a real bad situation in this country right now, bro. It's designed to get you pissed. Well, mission accomplished. We're supposed to be pissed. When the Attorney General gets on, if you don't get pissed about that, what is there to get pissed about? If you don't get pissed off that the lead prosecutor in your state can get on TV, not do his due diligence or lie to protect a child assaulter, what else is there to get exercised about? What am I supposed to be mad about? I lost a game in Madden yesterday. I lost on a safety. I've never lost in that way before. I guess we can. I guess we can be mad about that. But I don't know what else is there to get mad about. If you're truly pro-life and you truly love children, then it doesn't matter which side gets the emotional points. We gotta tell the fucking truth. If you're pro-life, then you're this happened to a child. So we should center the child in this situation. And obviously, if you're pro-life, you have two victims here. You have the child and then the child that those folks killed. So you got two victims here. So it's important to be as accurate as fucking possible about this. And Captivus, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what Jesus you talk about, but the Jesus that I follow in the scripture absolutely gets mad. And he also had some pretty interesting things to say about people who harm children. Here, let me show you what Jesus thinks about people who harm children. And then you can get back to me and tell me whether or not I should be mad. And by the way, Captivus, whatever you are, I'm not mad at you. I'm upset about the Attorney General. I'm upset about the media. I'm upset about the exploitation of this child. But I'm most upset about the people on my side fighting to invalidate this situation because you don't want to give Planned Parenthood anything. Planned Parenthood are a monstrous set of people, and their monstrosity is going to be made plain to all, as the scripture says. So I don't need to fucking lie to take down Planned Parenthood and the abortion industry. We don't need to do that. But aside from that, if you're pro-life and if you're particularly pro-child, this happened to a child. This is what I don't understand about our movement. It's this Machiavellian, very cold. Like, I'm starting to believe that a lot of you guys aren't really about the core of the movement, which is the sanctity of life and the fact that we should protect children. I'm starting to feel like that's not your guys' agenda. I don't know what the fuck the agenda is, but I don't understand this shit. When it looked like bullshit, I said it looked like bullshit. Because that's all the information we had. But now we've got different information, and now we're going to start playing around with facts and acting like the shit is just... What? I don't understand that. It's just... Yeah, I gotta tell you. You know, because folks are bringing up Uvalde. That happened in Texas, bro. And the vast majority of law enforcement officers in Texas, and you can't tell me shit. I worked in Texas I was on assignment in Texas for a year. And I worked very closely with law enforcement in Texas. And almost all of them are, quote, pro-life. Matter of fact, I didn't meet one that wasn't pro-life. But those motherfuckers stood outside while kids were getting massacred. So this is where we are in the pro-life movement. This is where we are in the pro-life movement. This is where we are in the pro-life movement. Is nobody's gonna call that out, but I guarantee you, the vast majority of those fucking cowards who stayed outside, let those kids get mowed down like that, the vast majority of them would tell you they're pro-life. So that's that. Now, here's what I'll say. Somebody asked me if Jesus would get mad, would be mad in this situation. All right, so we're gonna end with some Bible here, because people are saying I shouldn't be angry that the fucking Attorney General almost aided and abetted in the escape of a child rapist. I'm supposed to be calm about that. Oh, man. All right. Long story short, Jesus said, if you're the type of person that harms little children, it would be better if you tied a millstone around your neck and hurled yourself into the sea. Literally, he said, kill yourself. That's what Jesus said. Don't go after me. Jesus said that. Jesus didn't fuck around when it came to hurting kids and hurting vulnerable people. He didn't fuck around. And that goes to everybody. That goes to people, people at the top of the abortion capitalist industry. That goes for them. And that goes for anybody that would harm little children. And that goes for anybody who would aid and abet and harm little children. So I'm not. Yeah, he was mad. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't think he gently cleared the temple of the capitalists who were trying to use God to generate capital for themselves. I don't think he gently did that. Vin, I'll have to rewatch the stream, but would you advocate for the execution of child abusers? I use the term execute because I'm really exercise right now, but as a pro-life person, I would never vote for the death penalty and the killing of anyone. But emotionally, would I shed tears for this guy that did this to this child? No. No. But that's where we are. Righteous indignation didn't mean he was mad. All right, Captivus. You can say Jesus wasn't mad. Okay. It says he drove the guys out of the temple. And I don't know if you've ever dealt with capitalists in the middle of generating their capital, but those people will kill you if you get in between them and their money. But Jesus had such a look on his face that apparently those folks didn't want any parts of dealing with that man. So you can say he wasn't mad all you want. You're supposed to be angry at injustice. That's why God gave us emotions like anger. We're not supposed to waste our anger on ourselves and shit that happens to us personally. We're supposed to utilize our anger for others because God tells us to love our neighbor as ourself and love God. So if you can't get exercised about the fact that one of our elected leaders in this country almost got a child rapist to escape, if that doesn't get you angry, I'm not bullshitting. See a doctor. I'm not even lying. See a doctor. Nowhere in the Bible are we told to stay calm in the light of injustice to other people. Not once. All right. I love you all. I'm going to calm down now. Maybe pray a little bit. I love you all. Make sure that you take care of each other. And we'll see you guys again. Much love to everybody. Michelle, I will be checking out those pictures. Thank you for sending them to